Hey everybody, I'm Gavin, the game designer behind Duck Buck Moose, and today I'm going to teach you how to set up and play. In the game, players are going to compete to see who's master of the woodlands by scoring wildlife points while trying to stop others from doing the same. You'll do that by collecting some of these orange hunter cards, the gray license cards, and going out on hunts. And the points you'll score, you can see, are in the top left corner of these wildlife cards. And the game will end when the last wildlife card here is flipped, in which case everybody has one more turn. At that point, everybody will score their points, their wildlife points here, minus any unfulfilled license points. The player with the highest points wins. To set up, you'll want to separate the cards into each of their individual decks. So we have the green hunter deck here, the green wildlife deck, the orange hunter deck, and the gray license deck. Then you'll want to shuffle the orange hunter deck and deal 5 cards to each of the players. And they can take it into their hand and look at these cards, but they won't want anybody else to see them. Once you've done that, flip 4 face-up cards from each of the decks into these 3 rows. And that's the setup. The player who is most recently in the great outdoors gets to take the first turn. Now on your turn, you'll have 3 actions, and you can do them in any order, and you can do the same action more than once. Now, I'll explain the different actions in more detail in a moment, but briefly, they are draw a card, play an action card, refresh a row, and start a hunt. So let's start with the draw action. Now, you can draw any of the face-up orange hunter cards, or the gray license cards, or draw from the top of their draw piles. So let's say I collect the shotgun, and I would immediately refresh it, so that would cost me 1 action, collecting that to my hand. Let's say I want the ammo card, so that will be 2 actions. And I'm going to look at the top row here and see, well, there's some rabbit and some ducks, but you can also see that there's small game. So maybe I'll collect the general small game license, and that'll be my 3rd action. And again, remember to refresh the cards as soon as you pick them up. When using an action to play an actual action card, you'll resolve the effects written on the card. So in this case, you can see this card here is written action. It's the call, and it lets me put 1 wildlife card in front of me. In the case of this card, I would play it, discard it, and take any of the wildlife here, or one that someone else had previously called, and put it in front of me. Now, I'm the only one that can hunt it, and it can't be spooked. There's a few different action cards, not just this one. So some will let you steal other players' licenses, they'll let you collect gear from the discard pile, and so on. Sometimes during the game, you'll notice that neither the hunter row or license row have anything useful for you, in which case you can take what's called the refresh action. When you do, take all the cards out of that row, discard them, and draw 4 new ones. Now it's important to note that you can only do that with the hunter or license row. You may not refresh the wildlife row. Now after a couple turns, you should have collected enough licenses and gear to actually go out on a hunt. So let's explain that, because that's how you're going to score points. There's 2 different types of hunts. There's small game and big game. And you can see the type of game that they are written on the bottom here again. So small game, big game, small game, big game. Let's start with the small game hunt. When you're going on a small game hunt, you're able to start and resolve that hunt in a single action. What you'll need is a valid license, at least 1 firearm, such as the shotgun, a rifle, or a bow, and an ammo card. And the ammo cards are generalized. They'll work with any of the firearms, and you can see that with the different icons here. The last thing you'll want to confirm is that the firearm type that you're using has a matching icon on it, such as the red shotgun shell here on the shotgun card. It exists on the wildlife that you're trying to hunt. So in the case of the rabbit, you can see that I can use a shotgun, that's the icon for rifle, or bow. So I could use one of those 3 types. The bull moose here only allows for a rifle. A duck, I can only use a shotgun, and a bear, I could use a shotgun or a rifle. So in this case, with the shotgun and a small game license, I'm actually pretty well set up, because I can either hunt the duck, which allows me the shotgun, or the rabbit, which also allows the shotgun. So I would be able to resolve that hunt immediately, taking either of the cards that I decide and placing it face down in front of me to show that it's been hunted. And when you do, immediately draw a new card from the wildlife deck. The last thing to note about small game is that you can actually hunt more than 1 at a time, as long as you have enough ammo. So let's say I drew this ammo on a previous turn, so now I have 2 in my hand. Let's refresh that real quick. So if I have enough ammo for each of the wildlife that I'm after, The firearm is valid for both of them, in which case it is. I can use the shotgun on the duck as well as the rabbit, and the permit would allow me to hunt it. So because this is small game, I can hunt any small game. So I would be able to use this to hunt both the duck and the rabbit, scoring them immediately. Now it's important to note that the license must match. Let's say that instead I had this duck license here, but there isn't 2 ducks in the field, so I wouldn't be able to use the 2 ammo cards. I'd only be able to hunt just that duck. Big game hunts work in a similar way in that you still need to have a ammo card, a valid firearm, and a license, but you may not hunt more than one at a time. You can only ever hunt one big game. In addition to that, it'll take 2 actions to hunt the big game. 1 action to start the hunt, in which case you'll lay the cards down in front for everybody to see. You'd say, I'm going on a, let's say we're going on a moose hunt, right? You'd put it all down and say, I'm going out on a moose hunt. The second action is to resolve the hunt, in which case you would score it out of the wildlife here. The catch is, though, that you can't complete a big game hunt on the same turn that it was started. That means that you'll have to wait at least 1 more full turn before being able to resolve it, giving other players plenty of opportunity to screw up your hunt. So let's go ahead and say that I had the moose license. I've taken an action on a previous turn to collect that, and I want to go out on the hunt. But there's a problem here. Sure, I have the moose license and I have an ammo card, but the moose doesn't allow me to use a shotgun. That's rifle only. So I'm either going to have to wait till I can collect a rifle from the gear deck or potentially get a different license that's valid. Lucky for me, a bear license just came up, so on my next turn, maybe I draw a license for the bear and spend an action to start a bear hunt. So now I have the ammo, the shotgun, and the bear license in front for everybody to see, and I'll declare that I'm going on a bear hunt. As it gets back around to my turn, I'll be able to spend one of those actions to resolve it, in which case, just like the small game, I'll discard the cards that were used, didn't use that extra ammo, and I will score that wildlife from the field, placing it face down in front of me. At the end of your turn, you may not have more than 5 orange hunter cards in your hand. So in this case, I have 6. It's the end of my turn. I'll have to decide which one to discard and put in the discard pile there. It's important to note that these gray hunter cards do not count towards your hand limit. They can never be discarded and count against you at the end of the game. The only way to get rid of them, to discard them here, is by fulfilling them on successful hunts. Now the game will continue going around until the last wildlife card here is flipped, in which case everybody gets 1 more full turn. Any big game hunt still on the table at that point will be resolved in turn order, and everybody will count up their scored wildlife points. So let's say that I had scored the deer, a rabbit, and a duck for 8 points. So that'll be my point total. But I must also check any unused or any unfulfilled licenses that are in my hand and subtract. So let's say I had an unfulfilled moose license. I gained 8 from my wildlife points, minus 6 because of the unfulfilled moose license, for a total of 2. Now let's say it came to a tie. This player here has 8 points, but so does this one. What do you do in that case? To break a tie, it'll be the player who has the most wildlife cards, as they've been on more successful hunts than the other tying player. If it's still a tie, then they get to celebrate a draw and victory. And that's the game. It plays 2 to 4 players in about 20 to 30 minutes. Now, if you have any questions or comments, I'll see them below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy Duck Buck Moose.